All right, let's talk about the words we use every single day, specifically synonyms and antonyms. Now, I know what you're thinking, but trust me, this is not going to be your high school vocabulary lesson. We're going to go way beyond simple definitions to really uncover the hidden connections between words and how those relationships give our language all its power and all its precision.
Think about this for a second. It's a pretty big idea, right? Hot and cold, fast and slow, happy and sad. Words almost never just float around by themselves. They're part of this huge, invisible web of connections. And this idea that words come in pairs, either as partners or as rivals, is really the key to understanding language on a much deeper level.
And that really brings us to the central question we're tackling here. We all use words, obviously, but how often do we stop and think about the specific word we're choosing? Look, having a big vocabulary is great, but knowing the absolute perfect word for a specific moment, that's a superpower. So let's sharpen that skill together.
Okay, first up, let's dive into the world of synonyms. This is where words team up to express all these subtle, powerful variations on just a single idea. It's all about finding richness in things that are, well, similar.
So let's get the basic definition out of the way. A synonym is simply a word that means the same, or pretty close to the same as another word. It's kind of like your brain's built-in thesaurus, giving you all these different options. But believe me, this simple definition is just the tip of the iceberg. We all know these pairs, right? You can swap big for large in a sentence, and the basic meaning doesn't really change. These are the easy ones, the direct substitutes, but they're the perfect starting point to get into the much more interesting, nuanced stuff. Okay, and here's the twist. This is where the real magic is. Synonyms are almost never perfect one-to-one replacements. Each one carries a slightly different weight, a different flavor, a different emotional temperature. This is what we call shades of meaning. Just look at these two words, sad and devastated. I mean, sure, they both describe being unhappy, but they live on completely different planets. Sad is a general feeling, but devastated, that's a wrecking ball. It implies this crushing, overwhelming grief. You can't just swap them. One is like a little rain shower, the other is a hurricane. So when you get right down to it, your word choice is like a volume dial for emotion and meaning. Are you just happy or are you ecstatic? Was the movie good or was it captivating? The right synonym lets you perfectly calibrate the intensity of what you're trying to say. You know, a really cool way to think about this is with what you could call an emotion thermometer. Your vocabulary can range from cold, like feeling mildly annoyed, all the way up to boiling, which is more like being enraged. Using this as a mental model is so useful. Before you speak or write, just ask yourself, what's the exact emotional temperature I'm going for here? Now, let's flip the coin over. If synonyms give us richness through similarity, then antonyms give us clarity through sharp contrast. This is all about the power of opposition. This one's pretty straightforward, right? An antonym is just a word that means the opposite of another. It's the yin to the synonym's yang. And it's through this opposition, this contrast, that we actually define the boundaries of our ideas. And again, we'll start with the basics. Pairs like hot and cold or fast and slow, these are hardwired into our brains from when we're kids. They create these clear black and white lines that help us make sense of the world. But just like with synonyms, the whole idea of an opposite has its own hidden layers. Because it turns out the concept of an opposite is not a one-size-fits-all deal. There's actually a hidden structure here, with different kinds of antonyms that all behave in very different ways. Antonyms really fall into three main types. First up, you've got complementary antonyms. These are absolute binary opposites. You're either dead or you're alive. There is no middle ground. Then there are gradable antonyms, like hot and cold. These exist on a scale with all sorts of degrees in between, like warm, cool, or tepid. And finally, you have relational antonyms. These only exist because of each other. You can't have a teacher without a student, right? Their meaning is totally defined by that relationship. Okay, so we've dug into the nuances of synonyms and the different types of antonyms. But why does any of this actually matter? What's the point in the real world? Let's connect all these ideas back to our everyday skills. Look, getting good at this isn't just some academic party trick. It has a real, direct impact on your life. It leads to way more vivid and interesting writing, deeper reading comprehension, and more confident, fluent speaking. But maybe the most important thing is that it builds more flexible thinking. It actually trains your brain to see important connections and distinctions all around you.
Let me show you what I mean with a super simple example. He runs fast. It's fine, it gets the job done. But notice the difference when we get more precise. He runs swiftly, suggests a kind of grace, maybe some smoothness. He runs rapidly, makes you think of urgent, quick steps. That's the upgrade we're talking about, moving from just basic description to creating a vivid image.
And this all brings us to a much bigger idea, one that goes way beyond just picking words. It's about how we see the world. Synonyms teach us that the truth isn't always black and white. It has many different shades. And antonyms, well, they remind us that our world is defined by contrast, by drawing lines that give ideas their shape and their meaning. And really, what's true for language is so often true for life, isn't it? This whole dance between similarity and opposition. It's a perfect mirror for how we navigate the world. Knowing how to appreciate nuance and how to define things through contrast, those are fundamental skills that go way beyond just writing a better email. So I'll leave you with a little challenge. The next time you go to describe something, a feeling you're having, something that happened, an idea, just pause for half a second. Think about the intensity. Think about the contrast. And ask yourself, what will I say more precisely today?